Stand by. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing Alex Garland's Men, which is a movie, question mark? We're going to do that in a little bit here, but first up, joining me from apparently blazing hot Oakland, California, please welcome Matilda back to the show.
Hello.
Next up from Manhattan, New York City, please welcome John Schnarch to the show.
Hi, Eric.
And last up tonight from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
Are you still in Noblesville, Casey?
Yes, I am.
All right. I always want to say that. I'm like, I know you haven't really moved that much, right?
Oh, no, I've been here for quite a while now.
Okay, gotcha. I always feel like I forgot to move in there somewhere.
Actually, I've been here as long as BGH has been going.
That blows my mind.
Eric's like 8 houses later.
Yeah.
I mean, I might be 8 houses, actually.
I may have moved 10 times since we started this show. I'm not joking. I mean, maybe, same place once or twice in there, but 'tis the life of a nomad. Anyway, we're here tonight to review Men. I just finished it. I'm a little reeling, John.
When you said you were going to be watching right before the movie or the show, I was just like, well, this is going to get interesting.
We're going to integrate this in real time.
All right, well, let's do it. Let's take a quick break and review Alex Garland's Men.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
John, you seen any good birthing scenes lately?
I think I saw 6 of them.
Like perhaps a man coming out of a man, coming out of a man, coming out of a man, and maybe they're all the same man, but slightly different. I'm just spitballing here. Might be a cool scene. We should workshop that. Hey, John, please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word is chancel. You guys ever heard of a chancel? You know what a chancel is? It's a new one for me. This is the part of a church near the altar reserved for the clergy and choir and typically separated from the nave by steps or a screen.
You knave.
Can you say name?
Nave. I always called this the front of the church, but it has a name. Comes to us from the Latin cancelli, which means crossbars.
And what does that have to do? Tell me about Men and what that has to do with it, John.
What doesn't it have to do? Men, as you mentioned, comes to us from Alex Garland of Ex Machina
And Annihilation.
Annihilation. Yeah. This is an interesting one. So it stars Jessie Buckley. She plays Harper. It's like hard to describe or hard to say like what exactly. Basically, the setting of the film is that Harper has just had a traumatic breakup with her husband. Traumatic in that it resulted in his death. There is some ambiguity around whether or not he has committed suicide or sort of like died by accident. That's like somewhat revealed throughout the movie, but it's certainly put forth that there are ambiguous circumstances like pretty early on. And so the film basically intercuts her taking this trip to Katzen, which is sort of like a little town where she's going to sort of convalesce emotionally in a country home. This is, by the way, aspirational country house situation going on right here. But so she is in this country house. She is rented it for herself just to be there for a week by herself. And so we see scenes of her sort of, getting to know the neighborhood intercut with her sort of reliving, re-experiencing, remembering the trauma of this breakup and this fight that preceded the breakup. The sort of like notable part of this movie is that all of the male characters that live in the town of Katzen are played by the same actor, Rory Kinnear. It's very strange. I would say strange and wonderful, because I don't know, he's like sort of the perfect like generic
British
white
man.
British actor.
He's like if you turned the British meter up like 2 more notches, you have Austin Powers. That's who this guy is, basically.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the show Our Flag Means Death?
Not yet.
It's really good. He doesn't have like a huge part, but he's in it in a couple pretty notable scenes. He's sort of a character actor, at least by American standards. I'm sure in the UK he's done like lots of big notable roles. But yeah, so basically Harper begins to experience. She has an experience with this guy who's sort of they had a really good name for him. I'm going to forget, but he's like a homeless gentleman sleeping in the woods, but naked. And so she has this sort of strange encounter with him. That then tees up her interacting with some of these other men who are about town, and all culminating in a sort of a sort of different type of traumatic experience that she has at the hands of all of these different Rory Kinnears.
Sure.
Did you get that much out of it, Eric, or was that?
Yeah, no, I did. I did. Yeah. Matilda, tell me what you thought of this movie.
I was very excited to see this. I finished this today, like you. And I want movies to be like genuinely weird and upsetting. And so this was definitely genuinely weird and upsetting.
Got it.
Yeah. I feel a lot of different ways about what I saw, and I'm still trying to like work through them all. So I'm excited to talk about it. That was a lot, but like unambiguously, the cinematography and the use of sound in this movie is so beautiful and interesting. Yeah. The use of sound is maybe one of my favorite parts of this. And as the name implies, this is a strong point of view about men. And I feel like Alex Garland, did any of you watch Devs, that show that he did that was on?
No, it's sort of been on my list, but not like high on my list. So.
Yeah, it came out in March of 2020, so it was underseen probably for that reason.
Other stuff happened.
People were busy.
Yeah, it was filmed at my alma mater, Santa Cruz. So.
Okay.
I feel like Alex Garland is both very slow and methodical about symbolic imagery, and then alternately hits you in the face with it, sometimes literally in this movie. And it's very on the nose, and that can leave me kind of feeling like I'm not sure the tone is very even with him sometimes, and so I get taken out kind of deciding whether I like what's going on or not. And this, I have to say, feels like the most emotionally warm and engaging thing I've seen him make. Like I felt like Ex Machina was very beautiful and very cold, as was Devs.
Well, Ex Machina and Annihilation, and obviously some of that Annihilation is from the source material because it's a movie about people slowly losing their humanity to this like alien force. So you have that aspect, and then Ex Machina is about this like terrifying tech bro future, like. So yeah, that's a pretty good point. It's interesting.
which is also not a movie about toxic masculinity, which we
Right,
could talk about.
right,
But
yeah. But you're talking here about a movie like solely about a person kind of rooted in their grief and their experience in that grief with other people.
yes, yeah, and I feel like both Rory Kinnear and Jessie Buckley are amazing in this, and we can talk about the ending. I look forward to talking about the ending, but we'll save that.
Is Alex Garland
Um,
British?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I just think you have to be British to make a movie this British. Like, it's so British.
It has a very specific
It has a
setting, right? Like,
quality. It's
yeah.
not just that it's set there. There's a quality to it that I can't describe.
I said that very he was born in London. Okay. I was going to be very
okay.
embarrassed. I said that very definitively, and then I was like, maybe not.
Casey, what do you think?
All right. So I've been looking forward to this one for a bit. There was a lot of talk about this movie and how it did at festivals and stuff early on, and it had me really intrigued. I didn't know what to expect. I think I expected something more. I think I was expecting something like a reverse perspective of Children of Men, maybe. You know, that there was going to be a kind of a reverse, and it would be something on bigger scale like that. And I was not expecting what turned out to be a personal story. So worried, knowing how bad men can be in general, I was kind of worried going in, and then seeing how this translated to Harper's personal experience throughout this movie was really interesting, and I thought it was fascinating. I didn't follow this movie completely. I'll be honest. I didn't understand the finale 100% on what was going on. I understood chunks of what was going on, and there was realizations that came later in the movie to points that they were bringing out when it came to like effects and the way shots were taken in certain angles and things like that. And ultimately, this movie is really put together well, and it's what I expect from an A24 movie. It's beautiful. It's really interesting filmmaking, cinematography, and it's a nutty story indeed, but I think there's a lot of depth there with what Harper is going through. And I'll be honest, I didn't get that 100% from my first viewing. I got that from reading some articles afterwards, but it really helps bring my thoughts together, and I think I really like this, guys.
John.
I think I really like this movie too. I was nervous. So I was super excited about the trailer because the trailer looked weird. You know, it certainly set up this promise of something. And I love Alex Garland. And so I was sort of in for it. It came out at that time where we still weren't rushing back to theaters to see things, even that were, highly anticipated. It's sort of the way Matilda described it. Like, I think maybe I'm in the same camp of just like, I like challenging movies, right? First and foremost. I mean, that's probably not a surprise for anyone who's listening to this show, but I guess one of the things that made me nervous, but then in retrospect, I probably should have realized was probably spoke well of the movie, was how divided people seem to be. Like, I had kind of stayed away from a lot of reviews, but just the chatter I picked up was like very divisive, right? There was definitely people on both sides for this movie, and like in the extremes. I definitely wouldn't say I'm like in the extreme love camp. I think it's like a flawed film in a lot of ways, and I think, Matilda, some of the things you said about Alex Garland, like in some ways you get the worst of some of what he's doing. I mean, the symbolism. The movie's dense. Casey's like not getting it. I mean, I didn't get everything for sure. And there's like some parts that like when I was Casey sent around the article and I like kind of read through it, it's like no one's getting that stuff. Like the the passages that the vicar is quoting, the poems.
Yeah, that stuff was
and sort of like the second order of like the symbolism from the poems. You're supposed to like interpret that into the movie. I mean, it's all great to like get that after the fact, but like you're not getting that in real time. You know, the way that the movie is set up, I think is straightforward enough to the point of being on the nose. I mean, it's almost like too straightforward in some ways. But yeah, I thought, I guess the thing that won me over is how fucking crazy it goes at the end. I wasn't sure where it was going to go. I was almost, as we were watching, I
You
was
and I
nervous.
had
I
a
was like,
different
is
reaction
this
to
just
you.
going to be like a her being tormented thing and then having to like overcome her grief? Yeah, it sort of is, but it does some like really wacky shit in that last act that kind of
But wait,
won me
there's
over.
more.
So yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. You guys all sound very thoughtful and smart talking about this movie. I think I may be playing the role of the movie simpleton tonight. It's not that I didn't understand it. Like to your point, John. So I do have some nice things to say. To your point, I think it does actually wear at least the broad strokes of the messaging pretty clearly on its sleeve, where like you have this woman who is in this like very clearly abusive, manipulative relationship and who is then going out in the woods to sort of grieve and mourn and try to heal a little bit and runs into all these men. The decision to cast the one dude in all of these male roles is obviously like really on the nose. There's something that kind of reminded me of that aspect of it. Reminded me of oh god, I'm brain farting on it right now. Bo Burnham. That was that movie he was in.
Inside.
No, not Inside. Oh my god, it was like the biggest
Promising
movie.
Young
Yes,
Woman?
thank you. Jesus Christ, I had it in my head 2 seconds.
that had like many different male actors
No,
playing
but
different roles.
no. But the thread in Promising Young Women is what that movie is doing is showing you this sort of like deep web of misogyny and how everyone is almost like reading from the same cultural script when they are invalidating her experience. And I got that same feeling from this, and I feel like it's actually further accentuated by having it be the same person over and over, just looking slightly different, finding different ways each time to either just casually brush off her experience or fully push back and be like, that's not what happened. Like the priest
Yeah.
is kind of the extreme of that. So I think like that part of it to me is very clear. Garland in general, like I would say for me, if I were to like list my top, I think that Annihilation and Ex Machina are two of the best modern made sci-fi movies and like maybe of all time. I think they're both incredible movies. And he is really, I mean, Matilda was saying like, he's just a very thoughtful artist, both visually and like in an audio aspect. And that stuff shines through here. There's a lot of really striking imagery in this film. I love the use of sound in particular with this in this tunnel scene, the way she's creating her own like round with the echoes, and then they actually
It comes back.
they bring it back later. I
So
like
good.
some of the iconography with like the statues. But like, so like, I'm down with the message. I understand it. As a movie, this to me skews way too far into the fart house for me to like fully get on board with it.
I knew
Like-
I knew that's where you were going with it.
It is so, it's weird because for a movie where like, I think it's pretty clear what it's about, but in the same hand, it's so fucking obtuse moment to moment with what is happening and what it's supposed to mean that like I kind of just I checked out at some point. I was like, then we get to this birthing scene. I swear to God, I thought I was watching like a current day SNL digital short. Like I want somebody to recut that scene with a laugh track because it's just the silliest thing I've ever seen. And like, and partially it's like a Family Guy joke. Like it keeps going and going.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a good way. So this movie just lost me at some point. I do think there's some like incredibly strong performances. This dude, obviously like the lead actress, but this to me the standout is the guy because he's playing so many different people, and even just there's so much happening in the first 5 minutes with just this Jeffrey character. Like there's just you're so uncomfortable. He is like such a like you just get the you see characters in movies sometimes where you're like, oh, this guy or this person who made this movie knows this person in real life. And that felt like such a well sketched character. So yeah, I think there's like all these really interesting elements to it. I just don't think it holds together as a movie. I think it's incredibly pretentious and like misses the mark. I also think it's okay for creators to want to make pretentious movies. For me personally, I couldn't truck with it on this stage. I wasn't there.
I mean, look, it's all fair.
Yeah.
It's definitely pretentious. Like no argument. Yeah, I mean, look, my biggest question is like, and some of this comes from I just don't know enough about Alex Garland's background. And look, maybe it doesn't matter, but like you mentioned Promising Young Woman, directed by and I think written by a female writer and director. Here, Alex Garland, writer director, like I don't know, like is he the right person to be telling the story? Like that's like is I mean
I'll be honest
with
you. I don't
a little bit.
I don't like the idea of these people or anyone not taking a stab at a story like this. Like if there's more of these stories to be told, I'm all for it. You certainly, I think, open yourself up. You have a higher bar to clear if you're not necessarily speaking from your experience. But I would hate to think that people can't take a shot at it. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying like it's not that he like can't make this movie. It's just it's very on the nose about men and
so are some of the movies. But so are some of the same kind of movies that are made by women, I think.
Okay, so this is largely influenced by some of my post-movie reading, but at the same time, it is largely anti-men in some sense, but at the same time, it's not necessarily all men. It's coming specifically from the stuff that Harper went through.
So I totally like.
But that's not easy to take in on a first viewing.
Here's the issue: the movie's called Men. It's not like the very title sets forth that it like because you're right. Like in the narrative of the film, the men that she is experiencing, it was very clear they were all sort of like archetypes that had some relationship to some of what she had experienced with her husband or ex-husband.
What if they called it Men? Am I right? Matilda.
They called it Not All Men.
That's good. Not all of us.
That actually.
What do you think? What do you think of this aspect of it, Matilda?
I mean, I think this movie is most successful. One of the things that I heard post kind of like Casey, I then went on a hunt for like, what are people saying about this movie? To help me get my thoughts in order. And one of the things I heard was an NPR reviewer saying, I kind of wish that Alex Garland would have trusted the audience a little bit more. Like, for instance, this person was saying with the ex-husband, that you would get what was happening even without the punch. And so you might not need the punch, right? And I think this movie is most successful where it lets you kind of imagine what's happening instead of being really expository. Like, I think it's most successful in all the guys who are playing different aspects of problematic parts of things.
I could see
of masculinity of men. I think it's most successful with the kid. And when the husband's kind of saying, I'm just telling you, this is a fact, like, this is what's going to happen. That's where it's most successful, is in this kind of like, hostile entitlement to her love and her care.
Hostile entitlement's a really good word. I mean, the ratcheting up glimpses that we see of her interactions with her husband are like just so uncomfortable to watch, and it just gets so intense.
His initial response of, if you do this, this is what's going to happen, is a punch in itself. Right?
Yeah. It's like an emotional hostage taking, right? Like,
exactly.
Totally.
Yeah, it's what I liked the thing is, like, the way that scene plays out with him becoming violent, what I liked is that it actually like removes some of the ambiguity for her in her experience of his death, right? Like whether or
Yeah.
not his death was accidental, because of the way he behaved, like I think she had given herself, like she had forgiven herself. So like when the vicar, I think it's the vicar is like laying into her about guilt and all her like guilt, it feels it's like gaslight. He's gaslighting her about guilt that she actually doesn't really have. I mean, there's like emotional damage, but guilt didn't strike, and so
Well,
it
but
it, like
she may feel guilt, but if somebody feels guilt, the answer is not to be like, I bet you feel guilty.
sure, but I mean, I just think like
Appropriately so. Yeah.
I think she had rationalized and not rationalized maybe is not the right word, but she had
But-
like come to terms with like the way he died in a
Sure.
way that I think she was like beyond, had
But
forgiven herself.
I also don't think that guilt is always a rational feeling, especially when you were in an abusive relationship being gaslit like this.
Well, but the vicar like kind of like reignites the guilt, I guess is where I was going. Like all of these guys are doing different things that we see the husband doing in like different ways, right? Like the teenage boy is acting like a teenage boy, and like that's how the husband is acting. Like we see each of them do that. To me, the vicar was like easily the grossest part of this. I mean, he gets like sort of the most lines too, to a certain extent.
Man, it's so interesting because like
Yeah.
you have this character who's trying to heal, and in some ways at every turn she is sort of confronted with the like potentially worst voices inside herself that she's struggling with about how this went down. But it's like it sort of is about in some ways how those voices are not your own often.
Yeah.
And so, right, they come from other people.
Yeah.
And then here we are just seeing all these other people basically just speaking them aloud for her almost, and reinforcing it from their side.
Yeah, we kind of like the vicar kind of knows she's going to have that kind of like, as everyone does at some point, almost that like bargaining phase of grief. Like maybe if I hadn't done this, then this wouldn't have happened. And maybe if it hadn't been a Tuesday or they hadn't driven to the store, this wouldn't have happened, And he's just trying to play a tune on it in this kind of like scolding gender way.
Oh, and
Yeah.
Ash, do you want to talk about uncomfortable cinema? Let's talk about the hand and the leg.
Oh,
Oh, yes.
I was like, ooh, and like her, the subtle acting in that scene is really good. Like her,
Yeah.
she doesn't move, but you just feel her like tense up.
yeah. It's brutal.
I don't want to sound too like wide-eyed and butterflies and everything, but Jessie Buckley is, I think, legit haunting in this movie. Watching the course she takes in this movie and her reactions, it's just I couldn't take my eyes off of her, and just because she was pulling me in every scene, you can't help but feel for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she has kind of like a realistic fight response, like verbally to people, like both to her husband and physically, and to the vicar.
Yeah,
and to the people trying to come in.
Yeah, and Rory Kinnear, I mean, kudos to him too, playing all those different characters. Although I got to say, the young kid he played, I've been watching too much of this season of What We Do in the Shadows, and it's too much young Colin Robinson.
It is a lot of young Colin Robinson. I kept expecting him to like, guess what?
Yeah, guess what? Did you know that back in 1972 that? But no, it was just a really impressive performance, and it's something like if we had like our own Oscars or something, I think it would be BGH Best Actress of 2022 category for me.
Well, the both of them, right? Like what he's asked to do in this movie, and look, his is like a little hammier than hers is, but it's really fun. I mean, the kid it was probably my least favorite. I mean, the kid gets like the least amount to do, which is for the best because
it's so creepy.
The face on that body was so
so
weird.
for people who haven't seen it, they basically like, so again, this one actor plays every male character in the movie, but it's not, they alter his appearance for each character in a kind of interesting way. Like it almost takes you a minute to realize that everybody is him. But the kid is like kind of a creepy old man face, like CG'd onto a kid body.
Yeah,
which is real.
I'll
try to make him look young, but
I'll be.
Do they
honest.
though? I feel like they leave him old looking intentionally to make it be creepy.
Around the eyes, they do. I think.
Yeah.
I'll be honest though, kudos to them because I didn't catch on until there was a fantastic scene when the little naked dude stuck his hand through the mail slot, and she gets him with a knife, and he pulls his arm out of the hand slot. One, excellent effects. I loved it. Two, that's when it all started to solidify in my head what was going on because they used that injury throughout the rest and as a signal, and it was kind of genius.
I mean, because everyone has that same injury then going forward. Like, it becomes very obvious in a way.
I could not deal with how silly the naked man looked. Like, he's just like this little yellow dude with his wiener flopping around. Like, it was just not scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I haven't seen like a lot of naked men, but it was like, it was plausible. That's what, like, there's. I've seen a fair number of naked men. I've been to like a. Like
we've
a
all
gym
been in a
city,
YMCA locker room before.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he was weird.
Yeah, no, it's silly. He
so.
just looks funny.
Yeah. The hand injury that Casey is describing, I loved it. It's look, like in the universe of fart smelling movies, I challenge you to find another one where a character's hand gets sawed in half, and then they just keep acting and like going around in the scenes when I think it's the Vickers kind of. There's like an attempted rape or whatever is going on in that sequence.
He's got the hand split like around her neck.
Yeah, it like goes.
Yeah,
using it to like. I don't know if that was. He was intentionally using it to like caress her.
That was
what,
real weird. Yeah.
No, but when he pinned her, like Eric was saying, he pinned her to that wall in between the split in his hand, and that was freaky.
Did anyone else?
And then had like a non-consensual poetry slam.
Yeah,
the worst kind. Yeah. Did anyone else watch with subtitles on?
I did not.
Dude, two words out of Jeffrey's mouth, and I was like, nope, I don't understand a fucking word this guy's saying. Sorry. I watch most things with them anyway now because sound mixes are so awful nowadays, but yeah.
Yeah.
The horror subtitlers really need a new word for squelching because I feel like it's overused in the subtitles of 2020's horror.
I also never see a movie where there is not either a typo or just a wrong word or something. And I'm like, you have one job to do. Just write what they're saying. Like, how are you?
I mean, I assume machines are doing most of it, right? Isn't that like probably where that comes from?
I bet machines. I guess I wouldn't be shocked to find out that the first pass is like a software program, and then a human puts their hands on it. I would guess at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. I get annoyed. I do watch. There's a show on Netflix I watch with the subtitles on, and then it's a British show, so I get and I have the volume too low, so I miss stuff. And but then like they change the dialogue, like literally there's just like different things are said sometimes.
Right.
I'm like, what?
They're
like paraphrasing in
it's
the
worth saying
subtitle. I'm like,
too,
like
no. I just struggle a lot with British media, like of all ilks, like any genre. It's difficult for me to like really, I don't know what it is, some kind of sensibility that just like doesn't click with me, I guess. Which is why why I was like, this movie's so British, because I could feel it in my bones while I was watching it. British Office.
It was British.
British Office, one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my god, you get right the hell out of
Unbelievably
here.
awful.
I love the British.
I can't even tell what I'm watching. What is comedy, John? That's what
yeah, fair enough.
Anybody have favorite scenes? I guess at this point.
Not necessarily a favorite scene, but I thought it was interesting the way they kept coming back to the Green Man imagery throughout this movie, which was the crazy dude with the leaves for a face on the stone plinth in the church.
Right. Yeah, I wonder. I'm sure that there's something there.
Yeah, if you read about this movie after you watch it, there is a lot of talk, and I can't think of the name right now. Do you happen to know, Matilda?
I don't.
It was Sheol Magog or some.
Yeah, it was like a very specific mythology. Again, this was one of those things where I'm like,
thing.
No one watching this movie was like,
oh,
there it is, the old something Magog, whatever the hell. Yeah, like, I mean, but it makes sense if you sort of just assume it's meant to be some mythical whatever. The thing that I did not pick up on until Casey, I was reading through the article you had sent, but like the male regenerative force versus like the grotesque female form that's on. This is where the word of the day came from. The chancel. That's where that iconography was on that fountain or whatever it was. The basin. That was There's no way. Anyone who tells me they got that when they were watching this, you take a hike.
No.
Sitting
I
there
don't
with
like
their,
anyone who got
Wikipedia
this.
open, maybe.
No.
Yeah. But yeah.
I think probably for me, my favorite moment is the tunnel scene. It's just it's very tense. It also was probably the beginning of the end of me losing me. Like I was still in it when the tunnel scene happened. So, but yeah.
That's pretty early in the movie. Right?
Yeah, it is. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Lost me pretty quick.
Yeah, like Casey and John, I loved the mail slot hand scene. But I also loved when she's in the church screaming and the score comes up to kind of meet her screams.
Yes, I do know.
That part is great.
Uh-huh.
Like you said earlier, talking about this, Matilda, the sound work of this movie is insane. It was super impressive. That kind of goes along with the whole package that I was talking about myself. There's great work with the sound, and there's that whole scene in the tunnel that we see in the trailer, and she makes up that song, which is awesome on its own, just playing with the echoes in there, and it comes back with a purpose later, which I thought was genius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the two of, like all of you, like really love Alex Garland, and I sometimes struggle with him in that I think I get the sense, and maybe this was more in Devs because that was the last thing I saw from him. Although was Annihilation after that? When was Annihilation? Like
no,
later,
Annihilation was
2020?
before that. No.
Oh, okay.
2014?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
I feel like he's so technically skilled as a filmmaker that I keep watching, but there are times that I feel like this is going to sound harsher than I mean it, but I feel like he likes ideas a little bit more than he likes his characters.
Interesting.
Sometimes.
That's fair.
And so
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes like the interiority of the characters like loses a little bit.
I sort of feel that way about Annihilation, especially once you read the source material and you realize like how much is there. Yeah, it's interesting though. All right. Would you recommend Men, Matilda?
Yes.
Casey?
Absolutely.
John?
Yes.
It's a big old no for me, folks. What I gotta say about that.
No punches pulled.
All I gotta say about that. All right. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
A treat that's all trick. A nightmare that never ends. He came back to finish what they'll never forget. How do you kill what's not alive? Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis, the broadcast debut of Halloween 2. The night he came home. A debut network special presentation coming up next.
Hey guys, this is Danielle Harris. You might know me from some of the Halloween movies, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
alterations to my top 10 list this week, John.
Mm-hmm.
So stand down. I know you're excited. Stuff going on in BGH land. BloodyGoodHorror.com, at least as of the recording, is currently down. We've had like all kinds of just like screwy hosting issues for years now, and it's sort of gotten worse lately. Anyway, Mark's on the case. He's trying to figure it out, and we're getting not a lot of help from customer service over there, but we are aware. Thank you for everyone who has sent us a note, and we'll let you know.
They call that tech debt, I think.
What does that mean?
Casey knows what it means.
I do.
Well, tell me.
Tech debt is when you buy software that you don't end up using, and it's kind of sitting there, and you're paying licenses fees and doing nothing.
Interesting.
I was gonna say it's when you don't necessarily invest in software, and then you're like,
That
yeah,
too.
we can figure it out in the future. We'll figure it out in the future, and then like something happens, like software changes, and then it's like, oh, this shit doesn't work
And then
anymore.
the future comes.
And-
Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
and
you.
you're SOL.
Casey,
Yes, sir.
it is fall, and that means football.
It does.
You guys are having some fun over there in the Slack.
Yeah, right now, if you're noticing watching the live stream, I'm a little distracted. We're currently having the BGH 2022 fantasy football draft coming out of Slack, put on by our friend Joe Ferry that was on here a while back with us here on the show. It's a good time. So we have a dedicated sports channel out there in Slack. So if that's your bag, it's a good excuse to come hang out.
Yeah, so the league is closed for this year, but I'm sure if it goes well, we'll do it again next year. People are interested. The way to go is to hang out on Slack, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. And yeah, I totally forgot about the sports channel. Haven't been doing a lot of sports chatting, but there's people on there. We have them. That's the beauty of Bloody Good Horror, John. We have all kinds of horror fans in our community. There's
You betcha.
there's the sports horrors.
It's a big tent, Eric.
There's the goth horrors. There's the normie horror. Like we got all of it. It's great. Yes, we've always subscribed to the big tent theory of horror fans, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matilda, what's going on over at Zombie Girls?
Let's see, we've been doing quite a lot. I mean, Rachel is just like a machine, right? She has a lot of things going. So we're planning our quarterly live show for Halloween for mid-October. We're starting to talk about that. There may be a group costume
Oh,
involved,
hello.
about something we may have mentioned tonight. And if you want to check us out, you can see us on all social medias at ZG Podcasts or zgpodcasts.com. And I just want to mention, I am somebody who is not always up and watching all the horror news that comes through. I just rely on Rachel and Ariel, who put up an every Friday recommendation blurbs, just little teaser every Friday. So if you want, every Friday, you got something for the weekend. So that's always good.
Love it.
That's news I could use.
It's true. Zombie Girls, GRRLZ. I had an idea recently, John, that been listening to this podcast. I've been kicking around ideas of bringing the Eric show back, but I was like, what's the really sustainable way? And I thought it might be fun to just log on with no plan and just read horror news and react to it in real time. Just pull up some horror news website and just be
Is there that much horror news on a day-to-day basis, though?
I mean, yeah.
You'd have to
I feel
say.
overwhelmed by
If I did it
it.
weekly, yeah.
Okay.
So there are sites that's their business, John, just making up horse shit to write, news stories to write.
It's not news. It's horse shit, though.
Well, yeah, I'm not. But
We're just
reacting
to
but
horse
reacting to the horse shit can be just as fun, I think is the point.
shit. Well, fair enough.
It wasn't horror, but I could have done a whole show on this Don't Worry, Darling mess on
I
Twitter
feel
on
like
Sunday.
we could cover that. I feel like that movie is
Yeah, no,
horror
the
enough,
movie,
no?
I agree.
I don't need to get into who spit on whom
Oh, I
or,
do.
or didn't.
I do.
No, that's below me, I would say.
It's not below me.
I mean, I do know what's going on, just to be clear, but
On one end of the scale, it's like you like Men, the movie, and on the other end of the scale, it's like you're into this Twitter beef about Don't Worry, Darling. I'm like over here. I'm on this side of the fence.
I don't know. Yeah.
So there you go. Casey, what's going on Twitter?
All right. We've got a few Ask BGH questions this week, and we got answers. First up, at Duck Sensual. What is everyone's most prized Halloween decoration? Also, you're canceled if you haven't decorated yet.
We don't, because we have an apartment, so we don't really do like a lot of decorating. But we have some Lego sets that are like the Halloween themed ones. So we get those out and put them together, and then they go on the shelf.
I just got for my birthday, or maybe it wasn't my birthday. Elizabeth got me they're like retro style Halloween decorations, sort of like 70s style, the sort of cardboard die cut kind of thing, but they're all Halloween 3 themed. Which are pretty sweet. Yeah. Other than that, I've moved around so much and I haven't lived in a lot of places with like trick-or-treaters, so I don't have a ton of decorations. But I was thinking about busting out some like construction paper with the kids and making some stuff.
Yeah, ours don't really come down. I gotta I think the prize is the kind of Target front lawn ornaments that are sometimes like the little Santas or whatever. We have a little Grim Reaper that sits out there.
Nice.
My
Just
sweetie
all year round.
Yeah, my sweetie's a mortician, so there's a lot of like Grim Reaper stuff around.
I love that. That's so spooky.
Awesome. Yes.
I know. I was probably like voted most likely to marry a mortician. It's not good.
We've got a pretty
You were
sweet,
on those in high school.
I love it.
We've got a pretty sweet animatronic trio of witches in their cauldron stirring it up.
Nice.
So we're pretty proud of that one. Although I think Colleen's already got her, because usually we do have big Halloween decorations for anniversary present in our house. So
I wouldn't call this like a good decoration, but I remember my I had like I would have called her an aunt, but like some kind of relative of my grandmother's. I'm not even sure. Like it was sketchy, but her thing was crocheting like creepy cozies for things. Like I don't think she thought they were creepy, but she would make. I remember there being a witch one that would like, it was crocheted, but then there also was like a plastic kind of witch that came up out of it. And I feel like it went over the top of like an air freshener thing or something. Like, I don't remember, or it might've been a Kleenex
sometimes they're
box.
like a toilet paper cozy on the back of the
toilet. That's where it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll never forget. It was terrifying.
It's from the same like genre of crafts that like, I think those same witches and dolls go into cakes. Right, that get decorated with a big skirt.
Yeah, it's weird. 80s love that
those
shit.
are terrifying.
Casey?
Is that it, Casey?
no, I'm sorry. I got distracted by the draft.
Oh man, I could see you not looking at it over there.
Yeah, sorry.
I think,
that.
by the way, I think both.
It was my pick. Sorry.
Totally
In
fair.
case you were on the pre-show, I think both Casey and John are live drafting right now while we record.
Yes.
Yeah.
In
But
case,
some of us are locked
in
in.
case you're wondering
Just-
what everyone's priorities are this evening.
All right, next up, at Miles on Film. That's my bad. I'm paying attention now. Alex Garland is a filmmaker I normally love, but Men left me with mixed emotions. I'd like to know who are some directors, horror or otherwise, whose work you'll passionately defend, even after you've made a few clunkers, or after they've made a few clunkers.
Man,
I mean, at this point, I feel like Jordan Peele's gonna have to make like 10
Yeah.
clunkers in a row before I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, he's lost it. Like,
I
I'm-
would
Yeah.
listen.
I'm in.
It might sound weird saying this, but like I'll defend M. Night Shyamalan. Like that guy's made
Wait,
enough.
say who?
M. Night Shyamalan, John.
Oh,
You're
oh
right.
boy.
He's made
Eric.
enough like classic horror films that like, and he's made a lot of garbage, like a lot of insanely bad garbage. But like, I don't. He's got a good 4-movie run that is pretty, I think, unequaled by most people. Do you want me to name them, John? You look.
Okay.
Do you want me to name them, John? You look suspicious.
No, like it's gotten better, but he did make that Glass movie, which
He
Whew, boy,
he made The Sixth Sense. Okay, there's one. He made
sure.
Signs.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about his recent run.
No. I think he's just saying like a filmmaker who's made some duds, but you would still defend.
Yeah.
He
Okay,
made
all
Sixth
right.
Sense. He
That's
made
fair.
Signs. He made a movie that I would include in this
The
list.
Visit.
Maybe not everybody, but The Village.
I like The Village.
He made The Visit, and he made Split.
Yeah.
Those are 5 fantastic genre movies.
The lows are so low.
So
is the
low.
problem.
That's why I
they're
use him as
so
that's why I
low.
use him as an example, because I think it's a testament to how high the highs are that I would still defend him.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, in some ways, like Carpenter, I feel like, and like it's not controversial to like defend
No,
Carpenter,
he
obviously,
came to
but like
he came to mind too, because he after In the Mouth of Madness just kind of fell off a cliff in some ways. But like there's
the lows are really
but
bad.
he another person has like a 5 or 6 movie unrivaled streak in the 80s to the early 90s.
At this point, I feel like Brandon Cronenberg is somebody that I mean, he's only made Possessor and Antiviral, but he would have to make something pretty bad.
Welcome to the
Not
club.
be dazzled.
Welcome to the Cronenberg family club, appreciation club that I've started. Yeah. I mean, look, like my biggest complaint with him is like, make some more fucking movies, dude. Like, what are you doing? Because his dad cranked him out. Like, you know, it's not like he doesn't have an example of like what it looks like to crank some movies out.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
All right, next up we have our good friend at Whitney Please. How do you feel about Terrifier 2 in the 2 hour and 28-minute runtime? I want more Art the Clown, but I don't know if I want that much of it.
I am very excited for Terrifier 2, but that is a bold running time for what's basically a slasher movie. Like
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, I'm not feeling great about the runtime, but we'll see.
I'm excited. It looks like it has a story this time, but I don't know if I need 2.5 hours of that story.
Well, they basically, I guess they're doing the first movie again, but then they're also going to do a story piece too. I don't know. I still haven't seen the first one, which now Eric has told me I'm going to have to watch, but we'll see.
All right, next
Casey,
up, our good friend at.
Did you get your defense yet? Did you get your defense yet?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I'm good on quarterbacks though, just so you know.
Good, that's good.
Okay, nice.
All right, next up, our good friend at Rachy Pants. Did y'all hear Harry Styles may have spit on Chris Pine? Drama. Weigh in. Are you Team Styles or Pine?
Here's what I gotta say.
Where do you stand on Spitgate?
Here's what I have to say. I was delighted by this drama on Sunday. It was so much fun. Florence Pugh is like a fucking boss. Like just seeing her float above all of this while it was happening be so professional, but at the same time so subtly petty, was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. Like just incredible. My second favorite thing about all of it is Chris Pine and his like disassociation like resting bitch face that he had the whole time of just not wanting to be there. I have never related to a human being more in my life than these Chris Pine facial expressions that were coming out on Sunday. It does kind of look like Harry Styles spit on him. It kind of does, but that seems insane to me. That can't possibly be what happened. But Chris Pine does very clearly react to something that he's not happy about. So like the plot thickens. I don't know. I need like a Seinfeld. Remember that
I was going to say, are people referencing the Keith Hernandez?
No. It literally, there's video that literally kind of, if you squint at it, it looks like it's when he's walking into his seat and Chris Pine's there, and he literally looks like he spits on his lap. It's really bizarre. And because everybody was this is what it was. It's like peak internet. Everybody's so frothed up by all the like legit drama happening and all the awkwardness, all these people being around that clearly didn't want to be around each other, that then this happened and people went apoplectic, like just lost their minds. And if you're acting like you're above it, I don't believe you, and I know that you're into it.
I honestly could give an F at this point, but
I don't believe you.
I like know that it's happening. Like people at work are talking about it. Like you can't not know what's happening.
It was delightful.
Yeah.
Also, I learned from this whole drama that Nick Kroll, who's in this movie,
Is in the movie, yeah.
But I learned his dad is like a billionaire.
Yeah.
Which
They're
like-
from Connecticut, I believe.
well, that's
He's
why-
it's like a security firm. Billionaires a lot. Like
I
there's
saw the internet told me billionaire, John.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Next up, again for Matt Ricci Pants. This is a serious question. Okay, real question. What is the best and the most overrated breakfast food?
Eggs are the best. I mean, by far, like it's eggs.
They're pretty up there.
Overrated.
I go with sausage.
As the best?
Yeah, I like my sausage.
I don't know if it's highly rated, but like sausage patty is real gross to me. Like I get sausage links. You get a good like diner sausage link. That's delicious. But like a sausage patty, I feel like I'm eating dog food or something.
No,
I'm in
sausage
for
patty. You got to get it crusty and like kind of a little burn on the outside, so it's a little crispy.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Slap that bad boy between some biscuit and with some eggs in there.
I don't like.
Exactly.
See, this may be. I mean, you also grew up in the Northeast, John, but I don't biscuits. Not that I could eat them now, but I was in a time in my life where I could eat biscuits. They didn't do much for me. But I also do not come from the land of biscuits and gravy, so.
Yeah. If you're on Slack and you are in the food chat sub Slack, you'd see my biscuits and gravy from this weekend, and they were magical.
I mean, they taste good. There is no less visually appealing food than biscuits and gravy. It's just like beige on beige with some pepper.
Yeah, I think it's because it's 400 degrees in this room right now, but I think smoothie is my answer.
That's the number
But I
one.
think it's just about how hot it is in here.
You're dehydrated.
That's fair.
It could just be like
And,
ice cubes that you put in your mouth.
Yeah. Like ice chips is the best
Yeah.
breakfast. I
I mean,
hear me out. The best smoothie green is bok choy.
Wow.
interesting. I don't put any green in my smoothies. I don't need green.
This breaks down, and it doesn't have any texture when it breaks down.
I do like.
I've never
I do like
considered
bok
that.
choy. You know what I'm a huge fan of is smoked salmon. It's like my favorite with some
Okay.
breakfast.
Suzanne loves smoked salmon. I'm
It's the
fine
best.
without it. Can 100% leave it.
Yeah, and what was the second part of the question? Was overrated?
Overrated. I
Yeah.
think all breakfast foods are delicious. They all have their time and place in my mind.
That's fair.
Yeah. I'm pretty big on breakfast food in general.
I like a good hash too, like when you're hungover
Oh,
stuff.
corned beef hash is amazing.
and you just need salt in your body. Like that's the way to go.
Oh yeah, there's somebody here that makes like a beaten potato hash that's really good.
Mm.
I've had like a
I'd
sweet.
eat it.
I've had a sweet potato hash a couple times, and that's always really good.
I feel like there are a lot of, this sounds bad to do it on a British movie show. There's some bad scones out there.
Yeah,
feel
scones
like
are
there's some
scones are hit or miss.
Real dry,
Yeah.
bad scones out there.
That's fair.
I mean, it's kind of a dry food to begin with. Like it's pretty
Yeah,
rare.
they're
I
all
feel like
they're
yeah.
usually dry, but dry in the grand scheme.
Scones are like, hey, y'all like cake? What if we took all the moisture out of it? What do you think about
Yeah.
it now?
What if all the moisture left your body?
All right, next up at Skizbot. Have you ever been creeped out and or freaked out while alone in the woods?
Yeah, like all the time.
Have I ever been alone in the woods? I get real freaked out in large parking lots at night. Especially if I've just left like a scary movie or something. Like I'm 40. I still get freaked out. And I still check the
I
back
feel like
seat of my car.
If you're in the woods at night, you're like our senses are on such high alert for like any movement.
Yeah.
All it takes is like a fucking squeak, and you're like, "Meow."
I don't think I've ever been. I've never found myself in the woods alone at night. Why would you do that?
I mean, it's not like a regular thing. I'm not like fucking, but
Having grown up in the Midwest, I find it being alone in the woods rather peaceful, to be honest.
I know during the day, sure, like on a trail or something, but not at night. That's insane.
Oh,
If I've ever done that, I was probably drunk and like wandered away from a party, in which case I wasn't feeling fear anyway. So
hey, I led a night hike on a Girl Scout camp out through the woods to a ancient cemetery in the woods, and the only one that chickened out was my own daughter.
that's adorable.
We have a lot of big redwood woods over here that I go walking in, and I'm mostly really not creeped out because you get like little rustles, but sometimes you get a pretty big rustle,
Yeah.
and then you actually have to worry about mountain lions here, and so
Yeah.
there's
Oh, yeah.
Like a bear. Hi.
We get
it's in the middle of the city, so no bears, but sometimes mountain lions.
where
Oh,
I
fair.
live, we get coy dogs,
Oh,
which are like wild dogs that have mated with like coyotes, I think.
Yeah.
And actually, so I live this.
You 100% just made that word up.
No, it's true. Look it up. I live in the burbs now, but I'm in this weird little valley that's surrounded by mountains, and they're real close. And so like I've been walking a lot, and I've been hesitant to walk like early morning when it's still dark because I just feel like we're close enough to so much wilderness. Like, yeah, you never know what's roaming around the streets in the morning.
See, I'm from Indiana. Or like most dangerous is like a coyote or a fat ass raccoon.
I feel like there's tons of like skunks. As a person who's walked in the mornings on and off for a long time, that's one of my biggest fears is running into a skunk who's
that's the skunk hour for sure.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
also the bunny hour, though.
We have a bunch of bunnies right here.
All right. One last tweet here from our longtime listener at Leaky Pencils. What classic horror movie would be interesting if it was remade by Ari Aster, Alex Garland, Julia Decournau, or their ilk?
I can't answer these remake questions anymore, you guys. I don't have any remake answers.
For
So-
this particular one, I could see one of those directors doing a cool Bride of Frankenstein.
I
You
want
get the
to.
weird bits with the shrunken humans in jars and stuff. I think they could have fun with that.
I want to see Alex Garland remake Ernest Scared Stupid. How's that?
There you go. I'd
Let's-
watch it.
I realized
Let's
it
let's
was already remade, but I like The Hills Have Eyes, maybe like something real fucking
Yeah.
not grindhousey, but you
Well-
know, on the less classy side of the 70s.
let's hologram. Let's talk to Lucas Studios. Let's hologram Jim Varney, and bring this puppy back. Let's do it. The gritty reboot
Wait, did he pass?
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
we don't have to hologram him. We just hire John Cena.
As the new Ernest P. Worrell. You know what? That's brilliant. I love it.
Have you seen him lately? He's starting to morph into Ernest.
I love it. Let's do it. The guy can act.
Yeah, it can.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Make sure you get a running back, Casey. You don't want to miss out on running backs.
Oh, I got like 4. I'm good.
All right, y'all.
I drafted a kicker in the first round. I got nothing to worry about.
Bold move. Let's see.
Strategy.
Here's a good one. Worst nightmare airport experience.
Ooh.
I mean, I've only had one really, really bad, which was it was a high school class trip, and we were going. You're gonna laugh. Maybe I've talked about this before, but we were going to Cancun on a high school class trip for Spanish class, because you have to go to Cancun to speak Spanish, and we were delayed overnight. But it was one of these things where it was like they kept delaying it by 2 hours.
Dude, I hate
And
that
then it was
shit
like
sucks.
9 p.m. and they're like, "Yeah, it looks like we're gonna be delayed again." And they were like, "Do you want to go home?" And it's like, "Fuck it!" Like, and so we ended up just like like a handful of us. We were in high school. We just like stayed at the airport
Dude,
overnight.
nothing pisses me off more than when they know their delay is bullshit, but they're still telling you it's like an hour and a half, and they're just waiting to see if it's going to be longer. I'm like, everyone's just staring them down at the gate. They're like, you fucking know what's going to happen. Just tell us. I mean,
Yeah.
especially in the last couple of years, I'm sure there are much worse stories than this, but last year I got stranded in Charleston overnight, which sucked. Like, it was exactly what we were talking about, like delay after delay. And then it was like, it was one of those days where American just had to go like, I think like everything's canceled. Like every fucking flight leaving American from that airport that I was at got canceled. And I had to go get a hotel, pay all this money, and missed a whole day of my trip. Like, really pissed me off.
They didn't put you up in a hotel?
No.
See, now it's like I think it's getting to the point where like they kind of are having to like, do some of that
When
kind
they're
of stuff.
screwing so many people over, they're like, I don't even know if they can like afford it. But also, I didn't even fly. I've never flown American. I didn't even finish that trip on American. Because they were offering to get me on a flight the next day. I got a text. So now a lot of it, this is a blessing and a curse. But like if you use the app now in these places, you get canceled. You don't even necessarily have to talk to a person. They'll just send you a link and be like, we can get you on this flight. But I saw it and it was like 1:00 the next day or something. And I was just like, nah, I was just so pissed off at American Airlines. I went and booked a new flight from Charleston to my destination on Delta. I've never flown American again. And I continued the rest of my trip on Delta. I got the rest of my money back from American Airlines. That flight that they were trying to put me on fully got canceled the next day and never took off the next day. So I would have been stranded for a whole other day. So I was like, pretty pissed.
Nice.
One time coming back from a convention with you guys, I got stranded in the Philadelphia airport. It was my connection, and the plane was there, but they wouldn't let me on. Like, it wasn't moving, it wasn't pulling away. They wouldn't let me on. I got stranded in the Philadelphia airport for 9 hours. And the gate that I was sitting at was like some crazy haunted corner. That airport is huge. Like, I won't go through there again. It's one of
it's
the
pretty
biggest
big.
airports I've ever seen. And I was just in like literally, it felt like a Twilight Zone episode where I exited some like realm and was in like a haunted hangar that no one knew about with like dead people. It's the worst. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think I've been really lucky because our airport is the Southwest hub and there's another one in half an hour. Like Southwest is just like, there's so many flights.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah.
It's not the best. It's a cattle call, but there's another one.
You know what I miss when I
Immediately.
lived in Boston? We had JetBlue, and that was the best. Like, everyone needs JetBlue. Stop fucking around.
Yeah, Indy's a Southwest hub too, so that's usually my go-to. Works pretty well.
So from New York, most places you're probably going through Atlanta, which is fine, because it's huge, but it's very efficient. They have the underground tram. So you get off your flight, you go straight downstairs, you're at your gate in like 5 minutes. It's like an unbelievably well-designed airport. But they always try to route you through Detroit, which like I've never been to the Detroit airport, but I don't think I want to go there.
The one John flew me out from in Jersey after the BGH meeting in New York City a few years ago was pretty rough.
In Newark?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's
another
big.
Eastern hub is Newark.
Yeah.
Well, it's old too, so that was the biggest thing. But
is there such a thing as an over-elevated horror movie? That's what I call the fart house. That's what we're talking about here.
You know what movie I was thinking about the other day? You remember that movie Rubber?
Yeah.
yes,
Fair.
I don't know that was elevated necessarily, but
It was real.
it
fart
sure
smelling.
wanted to be.
whatever it was doing, it's not working.
Here's a good one.
Have any of you seen Hagazusa?
I've heard of
I
it.
haven't. Yeah.
That's an old movie, right?
It's a few years old. Like, bring your patience.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure it's somebody's dissertation.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
If you want to, Rachel was irate at the runtime. There's like a whole episode of ranting.
I mean, I'm not lying. I was gonna say that. Like, I got those vibes from this movie, like college. Like, I'm such an artist, you guys. Who is the worst man in history? Columbus must be up there, right?
I mean,
There's a
Columbus,
lot.
not great.
pretty bad, but
My answer was, I think he's still alive, and that's all I'm gonna say. But can't be for that much longer, right?
I'm not weighing in on this.
Yeah, there's
It's too many.
too many. I want to make like a Mr. Potato Head of all the terrible men in history. How do we do that?
A Voltron of all the worst men in history.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to have another man come out of its perennium, though. That's the challenge.
And then it's
Well,
back.
first, it has to go all the way up the body. when they
Right.
come out.
Yeah.
that was at some point. I'm like, okay, they're coming out of different places now. Like, all right.
I know. Now I'm like, are we at chakras? Like, what's happening?
Ah, that's interesting. Here's a good one. Unpopular opinions on anything.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, everyone knows that I think social media is like a cancer on society, right?
I don't.
That's
John,
like well
but
publicized.
John, even people who use social media feel the same way. We just can't stop.
Oh,
I feel the same way, and I use it every day.
that's scarier.
I think Kanye's a dipshit and somebody needs to get him mental help? It count?
No, I don't think that's a hot take these days.
It's an accurate clinical assessment.
Mine was that like, I understand taking a vacation. I don't understand going on a vacation. Like, I don't understand going on a trip to a place and like staying in a hotel. It's like
I
the
used to
last
be
thing I
that
want
way.
to do on earth.
I used to be that way, but I've changed over the last 2 years. I've been having fun.
I feel like Matilda might understand this as my fellow inside person.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too unpredictable out there. I don't want to.
Oh my God. I have never related to anyone more. Thank you so much.
Plus, people are like excited for you. I don't like having contact with a series of people who are excited for me when I'm just like tired and cranky.
Yes.
In the hospitality industry.
Yes.
You must be so fucking. What are you doing in town? I'm like, you don't care.
Are you two
Oh my
secretly
God.
related?
All right, we're gonna start our own podcast now. This is just us complaining about social obligations. I love it. Oh man, who had scarier teeth, Jeffrey or Austin Powers? I mean, they're real similar. Like, there's so many British teeth in this movie.
Jeffrey was kind of like licking the teeth a little bit in a way that I found.
Oh,
unseemly.
yeah. Big time.
And I felt like some of the characters had different teeth, which led me to believe that maybe the Jeffrey teeth were like not his own. Like, I don't even know.
Well, they were all fake. I mean, presumably.
Well, maybe I don't. Well, I don't know, John. Maybe. I don't have an answer to this, but maybe someone else does. What is your most entertaining / annoying mansplaining event?
I mean, isn't that really for Matilda? Like,
Right,
I mean, I guess someone. It could have been something I did. I don't know.
No, it was the most irritating /
annoying mansplaining.
An incident
Like,
where something was mansplained to you.
I guess, like, can a man mansplain to another man? Does that? I guess it can happen.
Yeah.
I think so.
Like in the
I feel like
present.
my answer is Aaron Sorkin.
Oh, interesting. Just every Aaron Sorkin script.
Just generally, like I feel like the newsroom is my answer.
I
There you go.
mean, the newsroom is like so preachy.
I actually had a case of somebody mansplaining to me the other day through work, and I found it quite aggravating. I had to go rant to my wife in the other room for a minute to calm down.
You know what I always tell people about the newsroom as somebody who's worked in the news business for like 17 years? It's not authentic because everybody has new computers and everything's clean. They don't give people money for new computers in the news. That's not how that works. Last question, a fun one. What's your best food / beverage for the spooky season?
I like a mulled wine. I mean, like, I don't drink them often, but when I have them, I'm like, oh, this is nice. Should do this more often.
I will. I mean, obviously, I have my own kind of stuff I eat, but I will begin. I feel like it's when I start, because I do a lot of baking on my own and stuff, like healthy stuff. But I'll start. That's where the nutmeg comes out once we hit September. That's really all you need. Like, here's the secret: you don't really need all the pumpkin spices. You need some cinnamon and some nutmeg. That's where the all stars, I feel like, of the flavor. But I just made some like pumpkin bars the other day that were really good.
Yeah, this is the time of the year the cardamom comes out for me. So my answer to this is like weirdly like a mulled herbal tea with hibiscus flowers. So like ginger and cardamom and all the mulled tea or mulled wine things, but just in tea.
So I was thinking
like
chai.
hot or iced.
I was thinking chai.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fall vibe for me. What about you, John?
Well, I said mulled wine.
Oh, mulled wine. Casey?
Yeah. Colleen makes a chicken leek pie, which is basically a giant pot pie that's filled with chicken and leeks, which is part of the onion family. It's just really savory, and it's something that always sticks to my ribs, makes me think of fall. It's
That sounds-
delicious, and I love it.
That sounds delicious. Love it. That's going to do it for men. Men are done. They're done forever, John.
Mm.
Glory be.
Twilight of the Men.
We
I don't
had
know.
a good run, y'all.
Did we?
It's great while it lasted.
I don't know what we're doing next week, but we'll be here. It's spooky season. We might have some theatrical stuff coming up, right? There's got to be something.
There's not.
think-
Well, there might be.
At
There's
some
not
po-
time.
at
We still haven't
some
done
point.
bodies. We gotta get to We
Yeah.
gotta get to the bodies.
Well, we need it to be like out somewhere we can watch it.
Yeah, we need to be able to rent bodies.
Yeah.
So yeah, love it. Matilda, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to check out Matilda on the Zombie Girls, GRRLZ, in your podcasting platform of choice. And that's gonna do it for Bloody Good Horror. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.